If you're looking to build your first website for your business in 2021, this course is going to teach you step by step how to do that with Joomla without coding or without any prior experience. So I look forward to you all taking this course. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to install Joomla for free without you having to spend money on a web hosting server. Now, eventually you're going to have to get a server, but for this course, I want to show you how you can do it for absolutely free. Now, Joomla.org have a service where you can launch a website and try it out for 30 days by going to Joomla.org. You notice that you have to download and you have to launch. Now, with the download option, this is where you download the Joomla files, which the latest version as of right now is 3.926. You download it and then you upload it on your web hosting server. So we're going to bypass you having to get a server for now, so you can kind of see how the whole process works. So you go here where it says launch, and from the launch area you choose your website name. So it's going to be a subdomain, your website name.joomla.com, and then you put the type of site that you want to build. And when you click on advanced here, you notice it shows you the Joomla version. Don't use 4.0 yet because this is the beta. It's not for live production sites. And then for the template, you can leave it a Protostar. You can use one of these, but I just have Protostar. And then for the location, it's going to say US. That's fine for the renewal monthly. So they give the opportunity for you to be able to, have the site for 30 days so you can try it out, which is really great. And if you wanted to sign on, I think it's like $5 or something like that per month. And then you can choose here if you want marketing materials. You have to agree first to the terms, and you click on the drop down. You can choose how you want to register. Do you want to do with Facebook, with Google, with Twitter, or you want to do it manually? So it really doesn't matter which way that you go here. I've already done that. So once you register, I register with Google. And once you've done so, then it's going to redirect you to the dashboard that looks something like this. So when you come in the dashboard here, I know it seems like there's a lot going on here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click where it says manage. So from the dashboard, it's showing you the active hosting is just one renewal. Is going to renew by 10 days. So we want to click where it says login. And when you click login, it's going to automatically just logs you into your Joomla site. And if you click where it says just the name, you can also see what the front end looks like. So right now the front end is very simple and is very basic, just exactly what you need. So this is a simple starting point for you to understand how Joomla works. So we're going to go now to the back end here of Joomla, and you see an update. So let's click to update. And where it's asking for your permission, I'll just leave this as always. You can always change that later on. That helps Joomla out with some data that's from your the site. So you click on install the update, and then once you're done, you get this message: your site now has been updated to the latest version of Joomla. So let's go through an overview here for Joomla. Now let's start first with the system here. So all the menus on your back end is being controlled right here. So Joomla has two parts. You have the back end. This is the information that just the admins are able to see. Then you have the front end. This is what the general public sees. Now with Joomla, there's something called ACL, and that is the access control level. There's certain information that, let's say you wanted to have certain groups of people get access to, but not the general public. One of the benefits about having Joomla is that you can be able to protect certain content from certain individuals. So if you have let's say, membership website and you don't want the general public to see everything, then you can be able to protect that content. We'll take a look at that later on, but for now, let's keep things simple. So this is the menu. This deals with everything in your system. Now, it's very important that when you're giving people access to your site, especially the back end, you want to make sure that whoever have control to the master password, they can change anything, they can delete anything, they have full control over the site. So you have to be very careful as to who will get access to that. But let's take a look right now at some of the basic information about your website. So you have your site information here. This is very vital. Your PHP version is 7.3. This is important that your PHP version is at least 7.3 because PHP it goes, if it expired or if it's outdated, then there's a lot of security breaches that can happen to your site. And then the MySQL, this is 5.7, which is good. And then the time the cache has been disabled, gzip disabled. We're going to take a look at this later on, what this means. I know this can sound a little bit technical and sound a little bit, what's that? But we'll take a look at that later on. So you have the read messages here. This is where it's going to show you all the messages on your website. You can click to see what those messages are. So now let's go over to the control panel. You have the system, you have the global configuration. With your global configuration, this is where the core of your site is. This is the heart of your website. And I always tell people, again, be careful who you give access to this part, because they can cause major damage to your site. If they come in here, they have no clue what they're doing, they change something, it can pretty much ruin your site. And you have to spend a lot of money to get someone like myself to be able to, fix things. So this is the site information, your site name. If you want your site to be offline, this is where that is. Inline editing modules, you want to keep it at the modules. Default, you have the tiny MCE. They have different when you have JCE editor. This is pretty much just like what you see is what you get editor, like a Microsoft Word document, how to edit. And then the captcha, if you want to utilize this, you would have to activate it through what's called plugin, and you have to get that from Google. Google gives you a certain code that you put on your website, and then it's going to automatically activate that for you here on the back. And we'll take a look at plugins later on. And as I mentioned before, you have different access levels to your site. You have public, you have guest, you have register, you have special, and you have super user. Now the super user, this is the person that have access to everything on the website. So whatever logins they have, they can change anything, delete anything, same as this the special. So with the register, you can have them have access to just certain part of the website. They have to create an account first. And then default list limit, all this stuff I'm just going to go through. Default feed, this like for RSS feed, you can set the limit for it. Default list limit here. Feed email address. So if you're going to set up like RSS feed, then you want to put in an email address here. You want to put in, you can either use the author's email or the site email. I know a lot of this may not make sense right now, but it's going to much later on. And then for your site description, you put whatever description is here, the meta keywords. And for the robots. Now with the robots, how that works is if you want search engines to be able to index and follow your website, then you want to keep this as the default. So what that means is that they're going to, once you get your Google Analytics and Google Search Console connected to it, they're going to follow. So when you update your website, new content, new information, this is what this is for. I see so many people, just come in, no index, no follow. You have to no index, no follow. So this is going to block the robots from actually following your website. Now, there are instances where you may want the robots not to follow certain things, right? Let's say you have a membership site that you don't care about. Again, index is just for specific groups of people. Well, you can come and say, listen, I don't want the robots to index. I don't want them to follow this. In that case, that's fine. Now, they can also do it index and no follow. They could do a no index and no follow. And then for the copyright content, then you put your name, your website name for the author tag. You can lift that. And then for the Joomla tag, you can lift that a yes or no to show the tag. In the SEO part right here, this is where you get to let the search engine robots know that your site is SEO friendly. Now, by default, Joomla is set up SEO friendly here. If you go on the front end, we don't have any other menus really here, but you normally would see the link and the URL that shows up right there. So let's go back here. So you want to keep this to yes. Now, where it says you use URL rewriting, if you're going to change this, you would have to first make sure that on your control panel, on the file section, that you would have to change what's called htaccess files, which we'll cover that maybe later on. So if you change this here, you want to make sure that your htaccess file on the server side, you would have to change the htaccess.txt file. There's a file that comes like that, but you have to rename that to .htaccess. So with the SEO part, you have a search engine friendly URL, so you want to keep that to yes. This is going to make sure that your URLs are search engine friendly, so it's not just a bunch of just jargon or something like that. So it actually have stuff that when people read, they can actually know what that's about. So let's go now to the next one, the URL rewriting. there's a file when you create Joomla, it uploads creates several different files. There's a file called htaccess.txt on the server side. If you want to use that, you would have to change that from htaccess.txt. You have to change to .htaccess. Then you would come and you click this to yes. But we're not going to do that right now because that's not important just yet. And then add suffix to URL. This is just going to add extra suffix, which we'll take a look at later on. The Unicode, and don't worry about this. And then do you want to put the site name in the pages? You can choose to put your website name before or after the titles on on your site. So most of the times I'll just leave this as no, but you can put the name before or you can put it after. And then for the cookie settings, don't worry about this for now. So next, let's move over to the system. This is the path to where your files have been stored. Again, that's why I make sure that you understand that if you have someone that doesn't know what they're doing, if they come in and they delete something here by accident, you can delete this, you can edit it, then it can cause some problems, especially with key information like this. And for the debug settings, when you get started, you don't have to worry much about this for now. You worry about this if you have problems on your server and you want to see what the problems are. So don't worry about this, for right now. For the cache handler, just leave it at the default. The cache server path, don't worry about that now. For the cache time, now cache time plays a role, because what this means is that your website is going to store a certain information for 15 minutes, then it's going to renew it. So if you update your website every 15 minutes or on a regular basis, then all the new information is going to get updated based on what you put on here. So if you don't update your website quite a lot, you may want to make this number a little bit higher, because that way it's going to have the relevant stuff there. But if you update your website, frequently, quite often, then you can leave it at the default for now. And then for the platform specific caching, we can leave that for no right now. And now for the system cache, you have here conservative, and then you have progressive. Most of the times you can do, some people do progressive, other people do conservative. The difference is one stores a certain page, and then one stores the general content throughout the entire website. For the most part, I usually leave this at conservative cache, and you can always change that later on. And a lot of this right now may not make much sense. I want to give an overview without getting too technical, so I want to keep it simple. So as we progress on throughout the course, you know exactly what that means. And for the cache handler here, for the session time, you can leave it at database. Now this is how long your website can be inactive before it automatically just shuts out. So this is session time here. So after 15 minutes of inactivity or so, then it's going to automatically just log you out. Now we go over to the server. This is the path to the temp folder. Sometimes if you're having problems installing certain extensions, the temp folder, this is where you can be able to go in to upload extensions through there. And then you want the gzip for compression. You want to set that to yes. Error reporting, leave it at default for now. If your site is using SSL certificate, okay, you want to make sure that this is set to entire website. So this is going to force the SSL certificate. And of course, you choose your time zone. For proxy and FTP, don't worry about this for now. For the database, this is the basic stuff here that, the database that was created by the system once you created your site. And by the default, the send, this is going to be, whatever email that you put on there for people to be able to contact you through. Reply to email, you can put that on there, but I'm just leave that blank for now. You can send a test email to see how that works. And then we'll go over now to the text filters. This is just showing you in terms of the different filter type, where you can restrict or where you can give access to. Same thing as like the permission here. So with the permission, if you want to give certain people access to certain parts of your website, then this is where you come in. But again, I would not recommend that you change anything on here until you become more comfortable. Even the same thing with the filters as well. So if you change something on here it can affect how it is on the front end. So when I go to public, you notice everything's said not allowed. They can log in, they can delete, they can create. When you go to guest, the same thing for the guest. So the public and the guest have, the same settings. And you say inherit it. The guest is inheriting the public settings. So when you go to the manager, you have a little more control. You can give them access to do certain things. They can't have administrative control, offline access. You go over to administrator, they have some access here, but they're not super admin. So you go to register, you see what access control that they have. So as you go to each one, when you go to the super user, as I mentioned before, they get access to everything. They can do everything, change anything at will. So now we go over to the global check-in. And the global check-in, you use this feature sometimes to clear your cache, expired cache, or if your site build cache, you can be able to come in. There's going to be a box. You click on that and you just click to delete. You can also use the check-in. What the check-in does is there are times when you accidentally lock certain pages where let's say you're editing a page and you just X off, you didn't save and close out correctly. Sometimes you may not be able to get access to those pages again. So what you do here is you come to check-in and you just click check-in, and it's going to make sure it's going to unlock everything that's locked on the site in terms of the content pages. So now we'll come over to the PHP settings. You go through safe mode, that's off. Again, this here is just a default. Some of these here, I know what they are, but I just don't want to go into a lot of details with it. So you go to configuration. That's a whole lot of stuff here, and then you go to folder permission. You want to make sure certain things are writable. If they're not, then it's not going to allow. Sometimes you try to upload something, it's not going to work properly because the permission level here is not set properly. You can change the permissions from the server side, and then you have a PHP let you know the version that it is. So you want to make sure it lists 7.3, and then you scroll all the way down. This is stuff that you don't have to worry about this much, right now. So that covers the system. So now we go over to the user. So with the users, you have to manage, you have the groups, you have the access levels, fields, field group, and all this stuff. So this is where you get to manage your users. You can add users, you can delete, you can block, you can do all those things here. You can activate, you can deactivate. So this deals with all the users that you have. You can create user groups for specific things, maybe like to email, to contact. You can create specific groups. Let's say you have a membership website. You can have group 1 that have access to specific content, group 2, group 3, and so on and so forth. And you have your notes here. This is for your personal use. You can also have your notes category. Again, most of this makes sense as we start to work on the site, but just want to give you an overview here. So this has to deal with the user management, the privacy, the mass mail. You can mass mail, everyone on your website. But I don't use this much when I have to send emails. I use another extension called AC Mailing that allows you to do a lot more in terms of email marketing. Next, we'll go over to the menus. Let's click to manage. This is where you can build your menus for your website. You can have as many menus as you want. If you want 5 menus, 10 menus, whatever, there's no limit. So you create your menus and your menu items. So let's take a look at this main menu. Right now, the only content on there is just the home. So this is where you come, unless you want to create a new menu, you go to new, and then you put in the title, whatever it is, and you go to menu item type. Now with the menu item type, there are different options that you see. You have articles, configurations, contact, newsfeed, and all this here. You can be able to connect this. Let's say you want to link to another website. You go to system links. You can create a menu heading, separate. You can create a URL. So when you do that, you can put this menu can link to an external website that is not connected to this website. Okay, so this is where you can put that in, and we'll take a look at all that stuff later on. So when you go to the menu item type, you choose the specific stuff that you want to connect to. So you want articles, you can connect to a single article, different categories, and you can choose anything that you want from here. And then you have to target this to parent. Do you want it to open in a new window, or do you want it to stay in the exact existing tab? And for the template, when you click the templates, which we're going to take a look at later on, you can assign specific templates to specific pages. Now, this comes in handy because there are times when you may want to create a different site section on your website that look completely different for whatever reason, maybe for membership or just you have exclusive content that you want to share, that you can use that. And then on the right side, you have the main menu. You have the parent menu, so you can create as many sub menus as you need to. And you have your status. You can have published or unpublished. You have the access, so you can control who get access to this particular menu. So if you don't want the general public to get access to it, you just put only for registered, and only those with an account on your website will get access to this. And then for the languages, you can do multilingual as well. And then for the link type, we're not worried about this for now. For the menu module assignment, we're not worried about this for now. So let's just leave this as is. You click save and close. Let's just cancel. And you see here you have different, you can click on all menus. It's going to show you all the menus that you have on your site. And you can click on each one to edit, to delete. And now let's go over to the content. This is where you have your content. In Joomla, web pages are called articles. So if you come on the home page, what you see right here, this is, you see where you're getting started. So you have your articles here. This is where you can be able to write content. So let's click on this getting started. And you have information that you can put here. This is like a simple editor. You can put in whatever you want here. The title, the alias is going to be, it can be the same thing as the title. I usually tell people whatever your title is, you can leave your alias as that, because that's what the search engines are going to see, and that's what people are going to see. It's a description of what that page is about. That's what your alias is. So you can put in here. If you want to do some coding, you can do source code, and you can do some extra coding on here if you know how to. But if not, don't worry about that. You go to images and link. This is where you can add an intro image. You can image float. You want it to float left, right. You can add some alt text. You go to your options here. With the option, how this works is that if you don't want, let's say you don't want to show the title to this particular article, you can click here to hide. The reason why it says global is because there's a global settings for the article that it's applied to all of the articles. But if you want to, let's say, override it for a specific article or specific page, you can do that. And then you kind of come through and just see which one you want to set, what do you want to change, and you can do that right over here. And then you have publishing. Let's say you want to publish something that only lasts for a week or month or whatever time frame. Well, with the publishing option, you can do that here. You can set the start date, and you can set the finish date. So if you want something to show for a period of time, you set the start and you set the end. So after that date, that particular content is not going to be visible at all. This makes sense. Maybe you're running a special, right? And you want people to see that content just in a specific time frame. You can do that here. And you put, of course, you put in the global, the robots. We covered this already. And you go to configure, edit. This is where you show article options. Do you want to show publishing options? So you can set to yes or set to no. And then you go to your permissions. Again, you don't want to mess with these permissions because it can override so many things on your website that could end up, not going how you want it to go. And then right up top here, you have what's called versions. The beautiful thing about version is that anytime that someone changes something on here, it automatically just logs it here. So when you have several people working on the website, if someone changes something, right, and you want to find out who made that change, you just come to the versions and just see a list. It's going to show the author. So they have to log in with their account. It's going to show the author of whoever made the change. And you can click on it to see the change that was made. It shows the character count, how many characters were in there. And when they changed it, how many characters were left. So was it more or was it less? This is really great for accountability, especially when you have a site where you have a lot of people logging in to make changes, to update. You want to make sure that you check out the version. You can compare the versions, you can preview, or you can restore from a previous version as well. So let's close this. And then you have the categories. With the categories, you can create multiple categories for your site. So that way, as you're building content, you kind of section things off so people know exactly what information they're looking for. Maybe you have a marketing site, you want to do something about, social media marketing, SEO. So you kind of create categories. So as your writers or as you're adding content, you can create the content and assign them to specific categories. And then you have your featured articles, and then you have your fills, custom fills, which if you want people to put in information there, let's click on new. You can be able to create new article fills so that people can put in, like, let's say list, radio. We're going to take a look at this a little more, and you can see how that works. Now, some of these here, I don't use them as much because they're extensions that you're going to see later on that allows me more freedom, more flexibility. But this is the core of it here. This really works very well to add new fills as well. So let's just close this for now. And then you have your media. This is where all the the files have been stored, your images, your photos, your graphics, your content is stored on here. Now, I wouldn't recommend you upload videos here because they can take up so much space and it can cause some bandwidth issues. So you might want to use like a CDN for the videos. But the photos, this is where you can be able to store them. You can create new folders and new categories and upload them to it. All right, so now we're done with the content part. Let's go over to the banner, the components. Now, components, these are the different add-ons or things that you want to extend your site. Where if you wanted to add an additional feature on your site, let's say you wanted to start showing YouTube videos from your playlist. Well, there's something called extensions where you upload it is going to come under here on the components. And there are a lot of developers that have developed specific components that you can be able to use. Now, a component is just saying that it's a software that was built to be added onto your site, and it gives you a lot of different options. It gives you modules, it gives you plugins, and it gives you the component itself. So you have the news feed here, you have the messaging, you have the contact, you have the banners. Let's take an example for the banners. So with the banners, if you wanted to sell ad space or banner space on here, you would use this, and you would put in the information. You put the image. You can put in the banner details. You can charge by impressions. So anytime that someone clicks or sees it, the system is going to automatically log this in here for you. And if you want to publish a certain date, you can do that. So we're going to take a look at components later on. We start to build the website. So that's what all this here covers. And next we have extensions. Extensions you can manage, you can install. So you can install new extensions, you can update, you can manage, you can discover, check your database, any warnings, language, you can update the site. So when you first come here for the first time, you get this add install from web tab. So you want to do this because this is going to load up all the Joomla extensions from the JED directory directly from Joomla's website. So you click add install from web tab. Once you do that, now you activate. All of these here can be found when you go to joomla.org. Let's do that now. So you go to joomla.org and you go to download and extend. You go to extensions. All the extensions you see back here, before this wasn't here, they made this available in version 3.2. So all the extensions you see here are back here. And the great thing about it is that instead of you having to come here, search for the one you want, go to the developer's website, you download it, and then you come back, you can just come from here, see what you need, just click to to install it. So let's say I wanted to install Keyword Backup, which is one of the extensions I require for people to install. So you click on Akiva. The other would have been I would have came here, search for it, go download it to my computer or wherever, come back. So now you go to install, and then you click on install. And just like that, when you go to components, now you see Akiva Backup. So you can use this like an app store. You can come through here. Now some of these may not work. You still may have to go to the developer's website for some of these, but for the most part you can be able to install it. And once you do, you can log into it. So you have to upload package file and stuff from folder and stuff from a specific URL. So let's go over to modules. Modules are different sections of your website. So when you go over to Joomla here, you notice that you have each item, like this section where you see the banner, that's considered a module position. Let's go to the front end of your website. And to do so, you click right here. So I'm going to X that out. So this is a module position right now, popular tags. If you notice, you see popular tags, this is module position 7. So right here, module position 7. And the way that modules work is that you would have to understand it by going through your template. We're going to take a look at templates later on, but modules allow you to be able to put different things on different parts of your website. So you have this login form. So if I were to come now, this is the login form. If I disable this, click here to disable it. When I refresh this, it's going to disappear. So that's not there anymore. So I can click here to enable it again, and then it's right there. So if you go to new, it's going to show you all the different types of modules that you can add. Now there are some extensions or components that come with their own modules once you install it. So right now you have the articles, you have all of these here. You can be able to install any one of these modules here and put them in any position. So let's take a look, for example, search. When you click on search, it asks you here for the module position. These are all the available module positions in this template. So every template has its own module position. So when we get to that, we'll see how that works. And then you can start date, you can finish date, you can choose the each module have several settings that you have control over, and you can assign this particular module to the entire website, or you can assign it to just specific pages of the site. In that case, you go only on pages selected, and then you will come here and choose the pages that you want to search to be on, and just click on close. And next we have the plugins. Now plugins are extra stuff that you can be able to use to still do things on your site. So it's a component. With Joomla you have components, which has different parts to it. It has a dashboard. You can do a lot more with components. And then you have a module. Some developers create modules or add-ons to their components. And then you have a plugin. And the plugin pretty much is another thing that gives you another extra feature that you can be able to do, you can be able to use on the site. And by default, Joomla has a lot of different modules and a lot of different plugins. So we're going to go over the plugins, components. That's going to make a whole lot more sense later on when we actually start to build the site. But these are all the different plugins you have. You can search by the plugin type. So I mentioned before the CAPTCHA. If you wanted to utilize the Google CAPTCHA, you have to come here, the reCAPTCHA, you click on it, and then you have to choose the version, and Google is going to give you a key for you to put in here. When you put that key in, then you click to enable this, and that is how you can be able to use that reCAPTCHA there. So you have to search by element, you can scroll through here, and you can search by access. Certain plugins will give certain access to certain groups of people. And so let's click on, so we're done here with the plugins. And then next, let's take a look at template. So with templates, you have the template styles, and then you have the templates. So this gives you a thumbnail. For the most part, you won't really have to worry about the templates. You just have to worry about the template styles. This is where you get to edit. You get to, let's say, the protostar. You click on it, and it shows you what color. Right now, this is how it looks. You can change the template color. You can change the background color. If you don't like the white, you can change it to something else. And you click on save. So now the color has been changed to that. You can change the logo. If you want to replace this logo, you can replace it with your own. You can just put in here Joomla 2021 for the text. You can also upload a graphic for it. So now we've changed that to Joomla 2021. Google heading for headings. You can lift the headings to Google Fonts, just the Open Sans. You have the menu assignment. As I mentioned before, you can assign certain templates to certain content pages. I do this quite often because sometimes I'm building something and I don't want to use the same template throughout the entire website. I want to give a different look. I can do that here as well. So let's click on close. So now what we're going to do now, let's take a look here at the module positions and how they work. So when you look at the front end here, you just see one thing. But let's go to options. And where it says preview module positions, you want to set this to yes. And let's click on save and close. Now when you do that, you're going to activate this. You see this little eye here. This is going to explain how module positions work. So let's click over here on the protostar eye. Okay, so now let's go back template. Let's go over to modules. Okay, so let me go back here. Okay, so now we have this here. So when you go over to and you click on this little eye, it's going to show you the skeleton of the website. And this is going to make a lot more sense now. Let me move this over here. This is the skeleton. We talked about module positions before. So each template that you have comes with its own module positions, but in order for you to see them, you would have to, the template is going to have a layout position, or you can go this route. So with the default Joomla, you have all this module positions right here. You see position 7 here. So all the content that you put on this site is going to be on module position 7. All the content you put up here, you can have the outline, position 8, you have the banner. So if you wanted to put, let's say you wanted to move something around, you can certainly do so. So this is position 0. Let's go over to extensions and let's go over to modules. Now let's take a look here, for example, this search. Okay, when you look at the search and you look at the search here, this is a module position 0. But if I say, you know what, I didn't want this to be in module position 0, I want to move it somewhere else. I'm going to click on search, and let's say I want to move search from module position 0 to module position 7. So I'm going to go right here, click on the drop down. I can just start to type it in position, and it's going to show you the active one. So let's say I want to move this to 7, and I click on save. Now you don't see any change here yet, but let me go to the front end. When I click on refresh, now you see that that has been moved to the module position 7 right here. And the same thing goes for any one of these. You can add new items there, or you can remove things. So again, every template that you have comes with its own module positions that you can be able to do things with. You can put things in different positions. You can delete them. You can move them. So right now we're not using the bees template because this one has its own module positions. So we're going to click here. We can move this back to position 0. So we can put here position and position 0. Scroll down. Where's that position here? So you can type that in. I haven't spelled, maybe I didn't spell it right. So you got to make sure you spell it right too. Okay, so it's here 0. Okay, so here it is, search. So I'll put it back to 0. And then save and close. So it should go back now to the position that it was before once it's saved. Okay, so now it's back on that same position that we had it there before. So that's how module positions work. And when we start to build the site, because we're going to use an extension, I will show you how that works with it. So next we go to languages. The beautiful thing about Joomla is that you can install multiple languages. So right now it's just one, but if you want to install it in your native language, you can click on new, and then you can add the language. You can have translations of it, of your particular language. Most of the times I usually work with just the English. But if you have any other language, they have what's called language packs that you can install, and you can be able to use it in your native tongue. So when you go to install, you see all the different language packs that you can install. You have Afrikaans, Albanian, you have Dutch, and so on and so forth. So if any one of this is a native language, you click to install it. I'm not going to cover multilingual in this course, but I want to show you that there's an option for you to do that. And then you have your other help. If you get stuck sometimes, you go through this menu, and it's going to give the Joomla documentations and different things here that you can be able to go through. And then on this part here, this is you can edit your own information. So now that we're done with this here, let's just disable, go back to templates. We're going to disable that module position stuff here. So click to disable, save and close. So as you can see here, this gives you an understanding how Joomla works. We haven't added any content pages yet, because before you start to add pages, you really need to understand how things work, you need to understand exactly where things are and how you can flow with it, because from this point on, then we'll just start to build the site. You have a really solid understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it.